What's going on, Mark? I'm sure this is a very exciting day for you, development for you. We're here to talk about Silvergate, or probably a better way to put that is the perceived collapse of Silvergate. I know you and I talked a couple months ago and you called it out, and there were some people who agreed with you, but then there was a lot of people who disagreed with you. In fact, at a moment in time, Silvergate was thought to be another short squeeze play because everyone was saying, oh no, like the shorts have it wrong, they have it wrong. But now with an interesting development, their annual report, the 10K report, actually got paused. And I have the quote right here. They're looking to audit procedures and that it's currently analyzing certain regulatory and other inquiries and investigations, something about the sale of additional investment securities beyond what was anticipated. I don't speak legalese here, but I think I understand enough that this does not add up to a positive number. So can you just give us the very quick TLDR of what is happening right now, and then we'll get into more of the full-fledged detail of this whole saga?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Matt, I like you a lot, and thanks for having me back. And I've been a little jammed up, but for you, I will always find time.
I appreciate
I think
that.
you're a legitimate operator, and I'll do what I can
Thank you.
to help you, as you know. So, I've been talking about Silvergate really since the FTX deal, and we talked about it the last time you were on, and I basically said that not only is Silvergate a fraud, it's basically a publicly traded crime scene disguised as a bank. And where people are lost is it's not only a facilitator in some of these crypto offshore exchanges, they also launder money for some of the worst around the world.
Mm.
And since we spoke, James Gibson, also known as Aurelius, and myself have written letters through our lawyer to the Department of Justice, to the SEC, to the FDIC, to the Federal Reserve, to the OCC, and we're in constant contact with people who can put folks in jail and seize the bank. And these are 17 to 100-page letters outlining everything wrong at the bank, outlining the laws they've broken. We also sent letters, 3 of them, to their auditors to examine what these guys are doing, where they're breaking the law. Clearly, the auditors have taken us very seriously. Clearly, the FHLB has pulled their lines. Their customers are leaving them. The bank is beyond fucked, beyond. And what motivated myself and Gibson more than anything was all this short squeeze bullshit that went on. The trying to make this the next GameStop, and Silvergate isn't the next GameStop. There's no reason for Silvergate to exist. They've done some horrifically bad things. GameStop is a perfectly fine company with a perfectly fine balance sheet whose stock was down. So to draw attention or similarities between GameStop and Silvergate was very unfounded. And the hate and the short squeeze mentality and all this bullshit that went on, I blocked another, I think, 2,000 people on Twitter. I'm now up to close to 18,000 blocks. Moral of the story is don't fuck with me and don't fuck with frauds that we're digging into that do society and the world a disservice, because we will fucking bury you and I will bury this company single-handedly if I have to, but there's other people working with me, that this is serious business. That, as I said, I think I was the quote of the week for the New York Times 25 years ago. The market's not a game and it's not a casino, and it's a serious thing for serious people. And if you fuck around, be prepared to lose. So all these guys playing the short squeeze game, I was well aware of it. I was familiar with the threats. All those people have lost their ass, and rightfully so. And I'm glad they lost their ass, and they should be buried. And because there was no reason to buy this thing other than a short squeeze. And if you want to buy a stock and the only reason is a short squeeze, you're going to lose your ass. And people lost their ass in AMC, and they lost their ass here, and they're going to lose their ass in many other things. Know what you're doing, know what you own, know why you own it. Silvergate is a publicly traded crime scene. All their customers have left them. The depositors have left them. And I look for this bank to either fail or be seized, anywhere from the close of business today to probably next week. So don't lull yourself that the stock trades at 6, 16, 26. It doesn't matter. It's a scam. It's a fraud. It's run by a very, very, very bad man in Alan Lane, and they've lied to the public. They lied. They didn't disclose that their line was pulled by the FHLB. They didn't disclose that they had to sell additional securities at substantial losses. And they went and said that the numbers they reported should not be relied upon. And again, this is not a regular company. This is a federally regulated bank. And this is an embarrassment to the FDIC. It's an embarrassment to the Federal Reserve. It's an embarrassment to society, what's going on here. So part of my lot in life and what I do, and I think I'm pretty decent at it over a long period of time, is I get after these motherfuckers and I will drag their dick through the dirt and I will put them into the concrete if I have to. And I think it's rolling out sort of in real time. And yesterday was the start of it. I mean, down 60%, trading 2 times its market cap sort of sends a message.
Yeah, it's definitely gotten, I mean, after the news broke, it dropped 55% instantaneously, down 66% on the year. And over the past 1 year, it's down like 95, 96%. This has definitely been going down. At first, it seemed just to be associated with the downfall in crypto. But and please correct me if I'm wrong, the last time we talked, it seemed like one of the main things you were really focusing on was just without as much money as was coming through their system. I believe your thesis was, how was that not at least one of those dollars money laundering? And it seemed like that was kind of the thread you were pulling on, and it turned into this almost like Goliath of a mess, like almost a Frankenstein of a mess that you and other short sellers have really been trying to call out. And with it, obviously, we as of now, obviously, let's let all those fancy organizations with all their acronyms like look into like what was or wasn't happening. But for the viewer who maybe doesn't have as much knowledge of the market, what do you personally believe? What are you personally alleging Silvergate did wrong? Like, you're talking about the lines getting pulled from one organization and selling securities. Could you kind of dumb it down in terms of layman terms so the average viewer can like understand like really what I guess they were doing that was nefarious or illegal?
Sure. So Silvergate and Signature, and we'll talk about Signature on another show because I think they have major problems as well. It's just people want to focus on this instead. Signature and Silvergate, so let's just talk about Silvergate, run something called the SEN network, Silvergate Exchange Network, and that enables people to move money 24/7, 365 from one financial institution to another to crypto exchanges. They bragged that they had extreme complex KYC, which is also known as Know Your Customer KYC, and AML, which is anti-money laundering systems in place, but they clearly don't. They clearly didn't. And that's one of the many lies they told, because we analyzed probably 14 of their customers and one is more crooked than the next. And they're all offshore. And they're all run by horrifically bad people. Some are crime scenes themselves. And when Alan Lane, the CEO, said they've done all these tests, it's clear that they didn't. And that got the attention of the Department of Justice and probably the FDIC. And it's fine to move money if you know your customer from JP Morgan to Coinbase. I mean, Coinbase is the most legit, but Coinbase has said they've stopped doing business with them. Mm-hmm. It's okay to do that, but it's not okay to move for a money launderer in Dubai to move money to you through Uruguay, through some made up internet company. In one of the instances, North Dimension, where they moved $8 billion allegedly to Alameda, but it was to North Dimension. And that's clearly a crime. So I think most of the business they've done is crooked. Most of the business they've done is money laundering. There have been no tests. There's been no adult supervision, and I blame the FDIC. I blame the Federal Reserve. I blame the OCC, the supervisory part of this. So either people weren't doing their job, or they were paid by these guys, or paid off to look the other way. Whatever the case is, everything will be dug in. Because now it's a Senate issue, it's a DOJ issue, it's a Marc Cohodes issue, and this shit can't happen. Because if it wasn't for Silvergate, there wouldn't have been an FTX. And if there wasn't an FTX, people wouldn't have lost everything they lost in the thing, or some of these other crackpot exchanges. So now the people who are left as their clients all yesterday said they're going to stop doing business with them. No one in their right mind would have any money with the bank, or at least more than 250,000, which is the FDIC insured limit. And there's no reason for this operation to exist other than to aid and abet criminals. So what was deemed or as invented as an exchange to move money around to make it easy to invest in crypto or other coins really turned into a money laundering mechanism. And they bragged that they moved over $1 trillion of money since they've been in business. And $1 trillion is real money.
Yeah.
And it compromise that's a lot of money, and it compromises the US banking system, and that affects everybody. So again, everyone wants to get down on short sellers, which is fine. And people can love me, and I have many, and people can hate me, and I have many. But this is what I do, and this is the role of the short seller, to find out things that are wrong and try to bring these guys to justice to make the system better. So not all short sellers do or behave like this or do this kind of work. And some people aren't so legit. But by and large, when there's a high short interest in something, people should try to stay away, because it's a sign that something is very wrong, rather than to play games and try to squeeze the likes of me. Because all I'll do is just work harder and be more and more motivated. I mean, I lose money, but I've lost plenty in my day, and I've made plenty in my day. But it just pisses me off, and it makes me work harder. And when I work harder and get more fierce and bring other people into the job and pay my lawyer even more to write letters, then someone's going to get fucked, and fucked hard. And I don't feel bad for people who lost money here, because if you lost money here, you deserve to lose every dime. And don't blame me, blame the company, blame Zero Hedge, blame people on Twitter who touted this bullshit, blame Guy Gentile, because all these people led you over a cliff. So it's just simple. This is business. This is what should happen. This is how the jungle should work. The company will go out of business. They will be seized, and people will be brought to justice, hopefully.
Definitely have a couple of things to unpack there. So talking about people who have been touting it, it didn't take me long, but for those of you who are watching this a bit later, we are filming this in early March of 2023, not long ago. I'm talking a couple of months, a handful of months. Alan Lang, the CEO of Silvergate, was being touted on media, on public media, of like, this is great, this is what banking needs, this is regulated. It was almost like he was being pushed up by media. So it wasn't just these Twitter accounts or whatever, like whatever we want to call it. Like, we're talking about national financial media was almost giving their tip of the cap to this guy. Like with those people, and I know in the past you've referred to CNBC as the clown network, but I'm just talking about financial media in general. Like, do you think that they're at all to blame in this situation of propping up people without doing like literally any research on them of what the business is?
Okay, Matt. So you ask a really good question. And this is one of the reasons I like you. The media has blood all over their hands. Mm-hmm. But the people behind CNBC are dumber than a bag of rocks. And we wrote and called the editor of Barron's to retract falsity by some clown who writes their name, Jack Denton, and others. And what happens is Silvergate pays a PR firm a ridiculous sum of money called Edelman. No way. So what Edelman's lot in life is to coerce, pay, do whatever they need to do to get this clown Alan Lane on TV to sell to some producer that this guy has a story to tell. So it's the company's paid PR firm which reaches out to the media who doesn't know any better to run this stupid story again and again and again. I mean, CNBC ran 4 pieces on this piece of shit Silvergate, including Bill Miller, who to me is a real problem. He's the guy who got destroyed in Bear Stearns, and he made a bunch of false statements on TV. So, again, don't listen to me because I may make sense. You can hear what I say. If it makes sense, great, but do your own work and always check the facts. But all this shit in Barron's, all this shit on Zero Hedge wrote, and I thought the Zero Hedge guys were allies of mine, and I went after them. I'll go after anyone who prints shit that's not true, especially about me, but especially about companies that I'm involved in. So it's CNBC, it's Barron's, it's Twitter, it's the whole short squeeze crowd. It's this criminal guy, Gentile, who sued me twice, been thrown out twice. He's paid my fees twice. So there's a lot of people who try to manipulate stocks, just manipulate stocks flat up. And the simple thing to do is high short interest. There's more short interest here than Bed Bath and Beyond. Well, there's short interest for a reason. They can't file their financials. They said their numbers don't work. Their depositors are leaving. Their customers are leaving. The FHLB, which threw them a lifeline, pulled their loan. Nothing's been disclosed. And again, everyone thinks it's a game that you can squeeze a short. Well, it can work for a short period of time. But at the end of the day, the stock's been destroyed. And if you own weekly calls or own the stock or bought on a tip or a short squeeze, you've been destroyed. You have lost your ass. And frankly, rightly so. And people, as I always say, if you own a stock, you should be able to explain it to a 10th grader in a paragraph or less. If you can't, you probably shouldn't own it. I love Enovix, ENVX. Why do I like it? Because they have a battery made of silicon that lasts twice as long as anything out there. They can make the battery, and if they can produce it at speed, because they can make them now, it's a $25 billion opportunity. If I'm right and they can make it at speed, it will work. That's a simple story that I could tell a 10th grader. It has nothing to do with short interest. It has nothing to do with charts, has nothing to do with market manipulation. I believe in the product. I believe in the process. I believe that it could be a big deal one day. Could I be wrong? Hell yeah, I can be wrong. I'm wrong a lot, but it's not because I don't know what I'm in. But things happen. But it's not a story of buy Enovix, we're going to squeeze the fuck out of the shorts and look at the chart and blah, 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 blah. And there's bad guys telling stories. No, it's blocking and tackling, and that's what investment should be. And Silvergate, again, is a publicly traded crime scene. So if someone thinks it's a squeeze or a takeout or anything like that, you're going to lose even more money than you've already lost.
I think you highlight a very important thing. I'm grateful for things like GME because it brought so many people into the market who would have never been in the market. And I'm of the opinion that Wall Street, the market, is the best vehicle ever created by man to help people with upward financial mobility, if you know what you're doing. Unfortunately, when that brought people in, there's always the yin and the yang to the situation. It did teach a lot of people that, we should just be buying things that are highly shorted. And sometimes things are being maliciously shorted. That happens. But then other times it appears as if in this case, or historically with things like Luckin Coffee, there is fraud. So if we look at not all short interest is built the same. That's probably what we should title this, because it's not like some are messed up and they could get squeezed. And then other ones, it's almost surprising that it's still trading at any value. So I definitely agree with you there. And I just want to kind of echo those thoughts. But as you mentioned, you're on this adventure of dragging people's dicks through the dirt. And right now your target apparently is Alan Lang. And if your accusations, which we're going to find out when all the dust settles, if they're true or not, I mean, this is horrific. We're talking about serious money. And it was also inherently the structure that bolstered other large crime, which is FTX, which as of now, and once again, we have to let the dust settle on that, is potentially one of the largest financial crimes of literally all time. So this just seems like a failure at so many levels. On the individual level, people really not doing their research into it. On the media level, really popping people up that shouldn't be. And then on the largest business level, just pure fucking crime, pure greed and not doing basic things. So with all of that, like I said, as you're dragging dicks through the dirt, you mentioned, we're talking about $1 billion companies. And that's just at one particular layer of it that are not here in the US. You and people that are in your cohort on this particular effort, do you find it worrisome at all? These are the kind, I'm not saying that, I get that you're not a person who fucks around, but neither are these people. They have serious money on the line.
I don't give a fuck. I mean, they're not coming for me because I'm gonna fight in broad daylight,
Okay.
and these guys, everyone knows, the government and the law enforcement knows who the troublemakers are. I'm not worried. Look, when you have the FBI knock on your door and tell you to quit tweeting about a guy who ends up going to jail, there's very little that scares me. So I'm not scared of any of these clowns. Problem is, what everyone sort of needs to understand is the media does not want to hear from the likes of me because A, I'm not controlled, B, I don't have a firm, they can't tell me what to say, and I speak the truth. And people don't like to hear the truth because it's not the sugary, sweet narrative that Cartoon Network wants to pump. And there are good guys out there, which are many, and there's bad guys out there, which are also many. And people tend to be naive when they don't do their own work or figure things out. And they'll say, this guy lied to me. Well, people lie all the time, especially for money. Look at that guy, Trey, with AMC. The guy is just a complete whore, shill, stock manipulator, whatever that guy is. Right. And where is he now? He's hiding under his mama's dress because he can't face the music of what he did. Same thing with Alan Lane. Maybe the same thing with Signature. We will see. FTX was a total fraud. So people need to understand that for money and for big money, people are willing to lie, cheat, do whatever they can to play games with stocks. And people tend to make the villain constantly the short seller. And again, not all short sellers are the same. Not all short interest is the same. Not all stories are shorts. There's various things that go into it. But I am not a fuck around guy. I am not. And I'm sick and fucking tired of people playing games where I hang. If you want to play games, go play a game somewhere else. But don't be playing fucking games with Silvergate because y'all got what you deserve, right? Y'all got it. And if you lost, good on you. And we'll see how this thing winds out. I mean, it should happen fairly fast because that company is an absolute dumpster fire. Again, it's a publicly traded crime scene.
Before we get to that part of a quick question here. Are you the person who brought it to regulators' attention, or was there a big group, or were they already looking into it, or you have no idea? I mean, obviously you mentioned lawyers and writing letters, but were you the person who's like, hey, whatever organization XYZ, like look into this?
We will never know until post fact. Everyone does FOIAs to see who had fired or whatever the smoking gun. I can only be in charge of me.
Gotcha.
I know what I've done. I know what I've submitted. I know what I'm a part of, and it's lethal.
It appears so.
And I never put it on Twitter. I said I'm up to no good. I said everything's going to come out in the wash. I said I'm sharpening my teeth with a rat tail file, and all you fucks who want to play in the stock, stay tuned because I am not just taking this lightly. So we'll see what happens when the fat lady sings. I have all my stuff. It's generated from public filings and public records, and it's all out there for the world to see. So I'm far from done, and I will keep going. And again, the WIG indicator is really good. I mean, it's flawless. It's about 95% right. But when Alan Lane gets on CNBC, which I call the Cartoon Network, and has these Jesus Christ figures behind them, when people hide behind religion, something tends to be very wrong. Very wrong. So that's another indicator.
Definitely
and again,
can't disagree on that.
And again, I talked to someone today. I think over my life, I've probably put somewhere between 15 and 20 people in prison. So again, not all stories are the same. That Parker Petit threatened me, the guy went to prison. I think Alan Lane belongs in prison. Whether he gets there, whether the government wants to go after him, we'll see. But I'll do everything I can to make sure he goes there because, as you said, the crimes these guys have allegedly committed are heinous and beyond bad. And these guys deserve what they get. And to be playing games with a fucking stock to move the stock for this business and what these guys have done is incomprehensible. To root for a company in a situation like this to succeed is very, very bad.
To wrap this all up, just to put a bow on it, my question for you is, we're filming this, as I said before, in early March. So now within March, how do you see this playing out? Do you think the government's going to step in and just halt it? Because I see big players are invested. I guess Citadel has a stake in this. We have big crypto billionaires.
It's just through Citadel options. I mean,
Okay.
Citadel is a market maker, as is Susquehanna, as is Jane Street. So their position is just against puts and calls. They're not making a directional bet.
Gotcha.
And these other guys are all index funds. They have to own it. When there's an issue, they will all sell it. I think the FDIC is either going to seize it or they're going to form a shotgun marriage with someone like Wells Fargo or B of A or Bank of the West at somewhere between 4 and 14 cents. The banks, it's absolutely worthless. There's nothing here of value. There is no business. There's unlimited liability. Deposits have fled. Customers have fled. The loan book is on fire. So there's nothing here. So they would ask a bigger bank for a favor to help wind this thing down, and if a big bank wants to help them, they'll get a favor. But this, in my opinion, ends very, very badly, and it should end very quickly, because if you're a bank and people lose confidence in you, and their auditors clearly lost confidence in them because they're signing something that says it's doubtful that this company could last a year, why would you want to be in a bank that where the auditors say it probably won't last a year? Would you want your money there?
Definitely not.
Exactly. I mean, you have your choice. Last I looked in the United States of America to bank wherever you want. There's a lot of banks. So you don't need to do business with Silvergate, especially when their auditor says, we have doubts this company will make it another year. And I can't stand these motherfuckers. I can't stand them. So I'm motivated beyond belief, and I'm still motivated by those short squeeze guys who played their game. So I'm motivated to see this thing to the end.
Definitely.
I mean, and it will have an end. And when there's the end, we'll take a bow and move on to the next one. But this is a lesson to do your own work, to pay attention. Don't take anything I say, as gospel. I make mistakes like everyone else. But don't just buy something because something's advertised as a short squeeze, or let's do this or let's do that, or if it breaks out, it could go here. Yeah, it's all fine. But know what you're in, know why you're in, and know this is a dangerous game.
Well, I'm beyond excited to see how this concludes. When it does, we're going to make sure to have you back on. For everyone listening, if you want Marc's socials, I'll make sure it's in the description of this video just so you can track what he's up to. But truly, as always, I appreciate your time. Always a spicy interview with a lot of great insights. So once again, thank you. And I'm sure the audience thanks you as well.
Matt, have a great weekend, and thanks for having me on, and I'll do whatever I can to help you. And folks, this Matt is a legitimate actor, and I like him a lot, and you should. I don't know how the YouTube works. Like him, support him, subscribe to him, do whatever you want.
Thank you.
He's the real thing.
I appreciate it.
Have a great weekend, Matt.
You too. Bye.
Bye.